The emptiness behind the perfect smile. Sarah was by definition a heroine of modern times. At 28, she had already achieved what many were still seeking: a leadership position at a marketing firm with an enviable salary, a vibrant social circle, and a family that adored her. If you were to meet her at a café in the Santa Cecília neighborhood of São Paulo, you would see a woman impeccably dressed, with a radiant smile and eyes shining with a contagious energy. She had a ready answer for everything, always seemed to be 2 steps ahead, and somehow managed to remember every friend's birthday and coffee order, which made them feel special. She was a maestro of her own life, conducting an orchestra of commitments, expectations, and self-improvement. But, like most heroines, she carried an invisible burden. The smile she showed the world was a carefully constructed mask, a fortress to protect the well of strength that, with each passing day, became emptier and emptier. Sarah's life was an endless race. Her day began at 6 a.m. with a yoga session to center her mind before the chaos started. Then came urgent emails, meetings with clients that demanded her full attention, and presentations that had to be perfect. Her lunch was often a bowl of salad consumed in front of her computer while she answered messages. After work hours, the journey continued. Dinners with friends, networking events, or intense training sessions to stay in shape, which she believed was essential for discipline. In the eyes of everyone, she was the personification of success. On social media, her photos showed breathtaking landscapes, gourmet dishes, and moments of pure joy. She created the illusion of a perfect life, a life from which she herself felt disconnected. Each post was a small performance, proof that she was living up to expectations, and the likes were the applause she craved. The invisible current of exhaustion. The pressure was omnipresent, not just from others, but primarily from herself. She had internalized the idea that rest was for the weak, that stagnation was a failure, and that the only path was continuous growth. Her mind was a battlefield where the voice of demand never went silent. The breaking point was not a dramatic event, but a silent accumulation. It began with small things: forgetting to reply to friends' messages, adopting weekend plans out of pure exhaustion. In the eyes of everyone, she was the personification of success. She created the illusion of a perfect life, a life from which she herself felt disconnected. Each post was a small performance, proof that she was living up to expectations, and the likes were the applause she craved. This exhaustion was invisible. People praised her. "You're so productive, Sarah. I don't know how you managed to do everything." These words, which once filled her with pride, now emptied her. They reminded her of the lie she was living, the facade she maintained. The metaphor of the drained battery became a visceral reality. She wasn't just mentally exhausted. The fatigue penetrated her bones. A simple walk in the park, something she once loved, felt like a Herculean task. Anxiety was a constant fog that clouded her thoughts, turning simple decisions like what to eat for dinner into major dilemmas. Her body, once a tool of strength and discipline, now felt like a stranger. In a video call with her mother, she tried to hide the exhaustion. Her mother, in a tone full of affection and pride, said, "Your dad and I were just talking about you. You are our superhero, so successful, so full of life. We don't know where you get all that energy." The words were said with the purest love, but for Sarah they sounded like daggers. They didn't motivate her. They reminded her of the chasm between the superhero image her family loved and the reality of a woman who was silently falling apart. The doubt was no longer just about her work or her social life. It was about her whole identity. Who was she without all the hustle? If she stopped trying so hard, would she still be worthy of love and respect? The life she had built, so full of achievements, was destroying her from the inside out. The breaking point. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. She had arrived home after a long day and sat on the living room floor, her back against the wall. The moonlight streaming through the window illuminated the room but couldn't dissipate the darkness that was swallowing her. Her phone, which she never let out of her sight, was a few feet away, but it seemed to be in another universe. The screen glowed with work notifications and messages from friends, each one demanding a piece of her energy, a piece she no longer had. She felt crushed. For the first time, the idea of simply giving up wasn't terrifying, it was liberating. She thought about deleting all her social media, sending a resignation email, and abandoning everything she had built. Tears came, silent and hot, streaming down her face. She wasn't crying out of sadness, but from a deep ache, a fatigue that hurt in every cell. The feeling of defeat was overwhelming. What do you do when there's no more energy? What do you do when the life you chose seems to have abandoned you? She remained there for hours, feeling the weight of the exhaustion. But, amidst that pain, something small and unexpected happened. She noticed the moonlight, which fell on a patch of carpet, forming a design. It was a simple shape, but it had an unexpected beauty. The pain didn't disappear, but for a moment, she felt a small spark, a seed of an idea. The courage to recharge. In that moment, Sarah realized something fundamental. Life was not an endless race. Life was made of pauses, of moments of quietness, of recharging. She wasn't broken. She was just empty. And just as an empty well needs rain to fill up, she needed time, space, and silence to heal. The first thing she did was turn off her phone. She simply turned it off. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't a radical change. It was just a small act of self-protection. It was the first raindrop in her empty well. Wellness, she understood, was not a reward for a job well done. It wasn't a luxury you could afford only after you achieved a goal. Wellness was the foundation. It was the base upon which everything else was built. And courage wasn't about continuing to run when you couldn't take it anymore. Courage was about stopping, about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and about having the audacity to say no to others and, most importantly, to herself. Sarah's life didn't change overnight. She still had a job and responsibilities, but her perspective had changed forever. She started to find joy in small things: a coffee without rush, a book read without guilt, a walk in the park without a goal to be achieved. She started to reconnect with the Sarah who was hiding behind the perfect smile. The empty well was not her end. It was her starting point. It was the chance to tell a new story, not for others, but for herself. And that, she realized, was the true victory she had been looking for. Not the victory over the world, but the victory over exhaustion, expectation, and the fear of simply being.